Díomh Dinna Fáilte Rashkady, Chlór Ella and Shut Aaron Clay. Hello everyone, welcome back to another show here on Clay with me, Seamus Brady, your host. I'm joined by Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. It is another weekend review, another weekend roundup recap. Matthew, it was the last round of the Allianz Leagues, and I mean we had some really decisive results across the board, across all four divisions. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend. Thanks for having me on again, Seamus. Yeah, it was a really good weekend of football in particular. Like, there was a relegation, promotion to be decided. Division 3, Division 4 in particular were exciting enough. Division 1, maybe as the games went on, it was kind of clear to see who would go up. And then it was exciting in Division 2 last night to see who would go down between Fermanagh and Louth. And then the hurling, I thought the semi-finals were a bit of a dead rubber, but look, Kilkenny and Clare deserved their places in the final eventually. Kilkenny obviously beating Limerick yesterday, a match that I actually went to, kind of hoping that I was seeing the best of Limerick, if that makes sense, but didn't get to see it unfortunately yesterday. They both played outmatched by Kilkenny, but looking forward to getting into the chat.
Certainly, and one thing that we are going to touch on before we do dive into the GAA action is, of course, action from other sports that now are related to the GAA. The GAA has granted permission for Croke Park and Porky Queeve to be used for rugby and soccer activity in 2024, as far as we know. Now, obviously, Matthew, we were discussing on your channel about the UEFA fan zone. You have the boom of popularity in rugby over the last 2 years, especially with the Rugby World Cup. Number one, are you surprised? And number two, what do you make of this?
Not surprised eventually was going to happen, because you look at soccer and rugby in the past few years, it's probably gained a lot of traction, and with the Europa League and things like that. I did say on your podcast, or my podcast rather, Shane, that if Rangers did lose against Benfica, I thought this thing would speed up a bit, and eventually it did. And that was the main thing out of all this. And you look at Liverpool still in the competition, AC Milan as well, and it would just add more atmosphere into those stadiums. And even looking at stadiums other than GA, like I was on a bus going past Thomond Park one day in terms of rugby, and I actually looked at it, I thought that was a big stadium. Then I looked it up on Google, it only holds 25,000. So you could imagine why Munster actually played rugby games in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and in if they wanted to play in the Gaelic grounds or Simple Stadium or wherever. And you could imagine why Leinster would want to go into Croke Park, because they have a huge fan base. Ireland is rugby country more so now, more than ever. And that was the reason they went into Croke Park in the end. And let's not forget, it's probably not the first we've seen it, obviously in 2007, that Ireland-England game, which garnered a lot of interest in Croke Park. Shane Horvath scoring the try. I was at Boss scoring last-minute try as well. And Ireland getting 4 tries against the English, and even God Save the Queen going up in Croke Park. That was just a brilliant moment. And even the year that Ireland won the Grand Slam in 2009, that was in Croke Park. Ireland played against France before the Thierry Henry handball. That was in Croke Park. So it's not a situation that we haven't seen it before, but I think it was expected more than anything. I think it was just a matter of time before it eventually came to pass, and here it is.
That's it. Yeah, no, look, it's definitely something that I'm interested in. I mean, you have rugby is as popular as it's ever been, and we do genuinely have a once-in-a-generation rugby team that is capable of winning the World Cup. The next one, I'd be pretty confident in that. So it's one of those things that, why not back them with the resources that we have as a nation, as a sport? If there's a way in which the GAA and the rugby can work together to kind of get the best out of our rugby team as well, because on top of that, it would bring a lot of rugby fans to the mecca of Gaelic games as well, and maybe get a few of them interested in playing as well. It's a partnership in which both sports can benefit from. Now I'm in favour of it. I'm interested to see how they go about it. We have a couple of comments in here. One from my man Zeal from Mexico. He says, "Great day, games. Greetings from Mexico." Greetings, big love to Zeal, commenting on again. And then we've one in from Killian McMullen. Thought it was an interesting year. Some good football, some not so good. But can't wait for the next few weeks. That's it. The next few weeks are going to come thick and fast. And of course, you see the logo there, Capture Athletics, they're the sponsor of our social media React series. And of course, sponsor with Matthew as well. Fantastic hoodies, fantastic sportswear. Check them out if you have not already. So let's dive into the games. So, of course, we're going to go into the Allianz Football League's Division 1, Round 7. And Matthew, as it's all said and done, this is how the table now looks. So you have Derry sitting pretty at the top, Dublin in second now, Kerry in third, Mayo in fourth, Tyrone in fifth, Galway in sixth, Roscommon in seventh, and Monaghan in eighth. So Roscommon are down and out. And that's the first game that we're going to start off with. The only game in Division 1 which ended up having some really serious consequences. Derry 2-19, Roscommon 1-9 at Celtic Park. Roscommon, in the end, going out with a bit of a whimper. They were in a good position at halftime. They were quite close to Derry, although it was still a monumental task. Derry come out and really put them away in the second half. Lachlan Murray's goal in the 62nd minute, and that was that.
Exactly, and it looked that way looking at the Scorpio app at half time. And by the way, shout out to Scorpio, brilliant app today. And it was brilliant just looking through the scores and everything like that at half time, at full time, and seeing a clear picture of the tables. And GAE tables was another big account. So it's amazing that people from outside the GAE organisation actually come up with ideas to spread the game on the final day. It's brilliant to see. It really is brilliant to see. But on this game in particular, Lachlan Murray, as mentioned there by Oran McNichol there, what a performance from him. I think it was Scorpio said it was 1-5. He must have got 1-4, maybe a mark he got as well. So 1-5 overall, I was hearing. So brilliant performance from him. Shane McGuigan, really good as well. You had other players stepping up to the mark as well. Derry, they played with near enough a first team today, which was quite a surprise in many ways. Like, they were all but guaranteed into a league final, but they played with the first team. They went ahead with it, and Roscommon really helped them in the first half. It looked like Roscommon were up to it. They were up to the challenge. They were more so looked like they cared rather than the Kerry game last week. But then the second half, it just capitulated for them. And unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles for them. And I'd be worried now for Roscommon going to this here. And I was thinking about this before coming on here. Maybe the game against Cork and the game against Kildare last year kind of derailed them a small bit when you look at it. They drew against Kildare, or lost against Kildare rather, through brilliance from Kevin Feely. And then obviously the Cork, they were unexpected to lose that game. They lost that game. And now all of a sudden they're in Division 2. And a lot of people, actually, I was on Aaron's channel for a small bit for his live stream. And someone actually said in the live stream there that Roscommon could easily go down to Division 3. Would I go that far? Probably not. But I think it is reason to be concerned for Roscommon.
It is, because it's like they did go very high up, but then at the same time, I didn't once think that they were going to be genuine All-Ireland contenders. So the question is that how much further can you go, especially when you have players like Kieran Murtha stepping away. Now you have players like Donny Smith probably coming towards the tail end of his career. This generation of Roscommon lads, like, it's going to need another massive push from them. And the thing is that when you're talking about preparation, like Davy Burke, if anything, is overtraining them. I mean, like, we have the 65 training sessions comment. It's definitely something that it's a head scratcher as to why they did look on some games a little bit out of their depth in Division 1. They didn't look like they could beat Kerry. They didn't look like they could beat Derry in this game. They didn't look like they could beat Dublin. And you wonder how much higher they can go. I do think that they are a Division 1. I think they're a top 10 team. I think and they have been in the last 5, 6, 7 years. They're almost stuck in this spot where they're too good for Division 2, but not quite good enough to put 3, 4 years together in Division 1. That's the way it's been for the last years. They've been up and down.
Yeah, exactly. And it looked that way last year that Roscommon would solidify themselves in Division 1, finishing third in the league. And it was a brilliant finish. Roscommon very negative, only pressed up with the Derry kick. So they did. That was the way that they did in the entire league, really. Like, I watched them against Kerry in detail last week, and there seemed to be a bit of oomph missing from them. I don't know, was it just the performance wasn't there? Was it Kieran Murtha missing? Was it players just not buying the Davy Burke's tactics? I'm not sure what it was. Per se, but Roscommon just didn't perform this year, and that was the be all and end all. They were lackadaisical in many of the league games this year. They were flat. They just didn't match the opposition whatsoever, and that was just a worrying sign for Davy Burke. And even the stuff that he was saying in the post-match interviews and stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and even the Cathal Heenan incident last week with Jason Foley, that sort of stuff doesn't help. And Roscommon are going into the championship now looking a pretty low ebb, to be honest with you. They face against Mayo or New York. Let's be honest, it will be Mayo, and they should beat New York in 2 weeks' time in the Bronx. But you would imagine Roscommon will face Mayo, and going into that game will be on, I think, in the Hyde. But even in the Hyde, I think Mayo are looking in a stronger position than Roscommon do at this present moment in time for the college championship. So it doesn't look good for a Roscommon fan at the moment. And in Division 2 next season, you have the likes of Cork, who seem to be getting a bit of a higher ebb. You have Meath, who have a lot of youngsters coming through. You have Down coming up through the ranks of Division 3 of Westmeath. Louth will not be an easy place to go to if you're going away from home. Cavan are not an easy game. And obviously you have Monaghan there, who are tough fighters there. So, yeah, I don't think Division 2 is going to be a gimme either for Roscommon next season. So, a lot of reasons to be worried, actually.
Yeah, I think Division 2 for me is the first year, next year anyway, it's the first year in a while that there isn't immediately a team, an obvious two, that should go straight back up. Like, for example, when Mayo went down, when Galway went down, when Dublin went down, when Derry were there, you kind of felt like, oh, of course they're going to go back up. I always say this, it's the way that they've got relegated. I said it on the preview on Aaron's channel. Big shout out to Gaelic Games Fan TV, obviously. We were talking about it, and I was saying there's a way to go down. If you go down and you go down swinging and you lose by a point to Derry, as good as Derry are, I know that you are good enough to compete at that level. And it's easier to regroup if you can say to yourself, do you know what, we're close. We were 1 point off them. We were 2 points off them. If you got slapped up and you got sent down after the back of, as they did, quite a bad beating, it's quite hard to convince yourself that not only can you compete with them, but that you can beat them. It's quite hard to do that when you were far off them the last time that you played. I do think Roscommon have the footballers. I think with a full team, I think they're absolutely brilliant. I think Ben O'Carroll, Brian Stack, and the Smith, they're as good a footballers as you get in the country. It's just about putting it into the right system. And I do think that they are definitely one of the three that I would fancy to win Connacht, and I definitely would not write them off doing that. But yeah, so Derry, with that result, obviously, they were pretty much in the league final already, but they absolutely guaranteed it. There was still a possibility that they would miss out, but they're into the league final, and they will be joined by Dublin. It's going to be a repeat of the Division 2 final, now in the Division 1 final. I think that probably is the first time that that's ever happened. It's definitely not a common occurrence for that to happen. But Dublin made their step into the Division 1 league final after battering Tyrone 5-18 to 12 points in Croke Park. Colin Baskell returning to the side, stole the headlines with 2-3. Lorcan O'Dell with 1-2. Con O'Callaghan with 4 points. Niall Scully and Cian Murphy with the other goals. Ross McGarry, Killian McGuinness with 3 points each. Paul Mannion with 2 and Sean McMahon with 1. Tyrone did line out with a lot of experienced players missing, but Dublin still had to be ruthless, and by God they were.
Yeah, brilliant result for Dublin, and Colin Baskell, as you mentioned here, back in form, back in the goal trail, and he looked brilliant last year, top scorer for playing the championship, and he's carried that form into the league. When he has played, he's looked really, really good. And Dublin, it's kind of a situation, and you yourself and Aaron, I would imagine, would be loving this when I say this. The Dublin seem to be getting better game by game. They don't seem to be getting worse. And with the likes of James McCarthy to come back, with the likes of Big Fitzsimons, with the likes of Stephen Juxton, there is optimism there. There's clear optimism. And even going into the league final next week in Croke Park against Derry, Dublin look favourites for that. And they look a team that do things effortlessly. Things start to work, like defensively, offensively. I think, honestly, I have to have a look at stats again, but he definitely had the best attack in Division 1. I would say, and near the best attack in the entire 4 divisions, looking at it anyway, because that score today in particular, 5 goals and 18 points, is absolutely monumental, and brilliant result for Dublin there. And as for Tyrone, this is a worrying start for them, and I will say this. Since the All-Ireland final in 2021, Tyrone have had 2 appearances in Croke Park. The scorelines: Kerry 2-18, Tyrone 12 points, Dublin 5-18, Tyrone 12 points. Tells you all you need to know about their battle, their application. I think Tyrone, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I think they're one of the most inconsistent teams in Ireland. And I think in ways, I do think there's excellent footballers there, but how the team is laid out, how they're performing at the moment, I think they're near enough to the most overrated team in Division 1. Because when you look at it from this standpoint, they got 6 points in it in Division 1. 4 of those points came from teams that actually went down, Roscommon and Monaghan, and 2 of them points came from a brilliant second half performance against Mayo. And in that game, in the first half, they were dreadful. So where do Tyrone go from here? I'm not sure. You look at the Ulster Championship draw, they're on the same side as Derry and Donegal, but imagine they're not getting to an Ulster final. What's their probably aim for the championship? Probably not the All-Irelands. Would their aim be to get to Croke Park again? Probably. But their main aim to get to Croke Park again, if they are going to get there later on in the summer, is not to get embarrassed that they have in the last 2 appearances there. So I think there's a lot to be concerned about in Tyrone in the next few weeks. But as for Dublin, and I'm sure you're enjoying the highlight, Seamus, here, they look good at the moment, and they look like clear All-Ireland contenders at the moment. I would say themselves and Derry look absolutely superb and nearly ahead of the race. We'll talk about Kerry in a bit. Maybe they're struggling a small bit. Maybe there's a tactical plan there. But Derry and Dublin, and in particular Dublin, look really, really good. And should be a good league final next week.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I do agree with you on Tyrone that I think that I just have this opinion that they fumbled the bag massively after 2021. I think that when they won the All-Ireland in 2021, I distinctly remember looking through their squad and going, this squad is good enough to win another All-Ireland in the next 3 years. Like it definitely is. They had such strength and depth. And I said what was key was they lost the lads that were right behind them. So I'll give you a good example. So the Limerick Hurlers is a great example. Whenever Keane Lynch isn't on it, he's whipped off. Whenever Gerard Hegarty isn't on it, he's whipped off. Tyrone had that option in 2021. They had the likes of Paul Donaghy, Lee Brennan, Cathal McShane, all coming in off the bench. And what happened was Tiernan McCann, Rory Brennan, Conor McCalliskey, these players all stepped away from the Tyrone panel. And I know Matthew's gone, but I'm carrying on with the point. What happened was these lads stepped away from the Tyrone panel. And what that happened was then Tyrone lads didn't feel the same pressure to keep performing, in my opinion, at the same level that they had to before, because they knew they had to be persisted with. And the managers had to persist with players that weren't performing at their best. Like Kieran McGeary wasn't at his best after 2021. They didn't have the same options to bring in as they did have before. Delighted that Matthew is now back with us in just a second. Matthew, you're back with us. I was making the point about Tyrone. I was saying that once they lost the competition behind them, that then Dooher and Logan weren't in a position where they could take off the likes of McGeary, who had a bad year, etc. And I feel like that's why they kind of fumbled the bag a bit. It's a worrying performance, but I do think that they still have the players. They have the squad and they have the potential to win an All-Ireland in the next 5 years. I really believe that. But they won't win it in the next 2 years. I'd be very surprised if they do. Now, moving on to the next game. Kerry played Galway at Fitzgerald Stadium. Kerry won by 15 points to a goal in 10. They survived the late scare. Galway got a goal in the 68th minute from substitute Tom O'Culhan. That went into the back of the net, but Kerry hung on for victory. And I maintain this, Kerry did not care in the slightest about making a league final, hence why the Clifford brothers did not start. But Kerry still got the victory over Galway in Fitzgerald Stadium and finished their league on a high.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a decent enough performance from Kerry, a bit inconsistent at times, but they got over the line in the end. And a lot of Kerry fans were saying they're a bit frustrating to watch. And yeah, I'd probably echo a few Kerry fans' points there. But the main aim was just to win this game, and they won the game in quite comfortable fashion. I know Tom O'Culhan scored that late goal, and Galway got a late rally going. Fair play to them for that. There was a bit of fight there. And we talk about fight at the start of the comment here, or at the start of the chat with Roscommon. There didn't seem to be much fight in them, and Tyrone maybe the same when they get to Croke Park. There was fight shown by Galway today. There was a lot of it. And in the first half in particular, they were in the game for a large period. Kerry just got back into it and they went ahead, and then they went ahead, I think, by 5 points going into the last few minutes. Then Tom O'Culhan gets that, or 6 points rather. Then Tom O'Culhan gets that goal, and you're thinking, whoa, Galway have a chance here. And in the end, when you look at the Roscommon and Derry game, Galway didn't need to go on and win the game, but they were still willing to go for a win and maybe finish ahead of Tyrone. They were attempting to do that. But it was a good performance by Galway. For Kerry, still a lot more questions than answers. I know they have brilliant players up front. Obviously, it's well documented. Sean O'Shea, Paddy Clifford, David Clifford. But It's a matter of how they play, really. Like, if Paulie Clifford's not on it, who's going to take up the mantle to deliver the ball in? Is it going to be Killian Burke? Is it going to be Dylan Gainey? Is it going to be Adrian Spillane? Who's it going to be? One positive I will say for Kerry, Joe O'Connor in midfield over the last few games, even against Dublin and Croke Park, has looked really, really good. And he looks like the main heir in many ways to Jack Barry and David Moore from a few seasons back. He looks like they could be packaged. Justin Sachs midfielder, he looks really, really good. So I do think there is positives for Kerry. A few negatives, like they don't know where they're at in many ways going to the Munster Championship game against Cork in the semi-final. Well, I say it's Cork are going to play Limerick now. You would imagine Cork would beat Limerick. So they're going into a Munster kind of rivalry game against Cork without knowing where they're actually at, which is kind of worrying. I do think Kerry will hammer Cork in many ways, and no matter what Kerry team turn up. But maybe later on in the summer, when they face a Dublin and Derry, or even a Mayo later in the summer, they need to have a concrete style of play, and they need to have a player that will deliver quality ball in other than Paddy Clifford. But other than that, Kerry are still a frighteningly good team. They still have the quality to blitz opposition defences, and they will do so, I'm sure, in the summer. But for Galway, Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, Matthew Tierney and others to come back into it, I do think there's still quite a few positives in the Galway camp at the moment.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think it's one of those that they have shown that fight. And it was the victory over Tyrone that was the crucial one in terms of keeping them up. That felt massive at the time, and it's turned out to be massive. They lost this game, but it didn't matter because Roscommon didn't beat Derry. So yeah, Galway stayed up, and it wasn't through talent, it wasn't through skill, it was through dogged determination that these guys managed to stay up. They got the key victories when they needed to. And you even think back to the round 2 against Roscommon, they were 3 points down going into the last 10 minutes. That 3 points that they rattled off to get the draw, who would have known how crucial that would have been? So, like, it's one thing that Pádraig Joyce will go back with. I don't think he'll be delighted with the performances, but I think he will be relatively happy with the fight that they have shown. Now, one team whose luck finally ran out in 2024 when it came to avoiding relegation was Monaghan. Monaghan down and out. Beaten by Mayo in Clonus 2-13 to 1-14. Matthew Hurley's goal 6 minutes from time proved to be the killer blow to Monaghan in this game. They go down to Division 2 with 1 win out of 7 games. Look, I'm sad to see them go. They've been a real staple in Division 1, and their great escape was time and time again one of the most entertaining things to watch in the year. But this time, it was just a stretch too far for them. Mayo finished their league on a high.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about fight and things in Roscommon and Tyrone and all that, like Monaghan had it in spades. There was no doubt about it. And even today, I know they were down and out, they were relegated already, but they had Andrew Woods sent off in the first half for a straight red card, and they could have easily laid down after that. But they came back fighting into it. They nearly got a result. Kevin Loughran got a goal just under 10 minutes from time. Then Matthew Moran gets that goal. You think, okay, Monaghan are gone here. But I do think there's a lot of positives still for Monaghan going to Division 2 next season. There is still young players there, like Kevin Loughran, for example, Killian Lavelle. Like, there is young, exuberant talent. Like Sean Jones, who started today, is really, really good as well. And I do think it's maybe a platform for the younger players to come into the team more in Division 2. So I do think there's still some positives, even for Monaghan going down. Maybe the negatives is, like Conor McManus, even next season, Darren Hughes, will they step away going to Division 2 next season? It remains to be seen. But like, there is still a young conveyor belt to talent in Monaghan. I don't think it'll be like a slippery situation for them. I do think if they don't go up from Division 2, I think they'll be sturdy in Division 2. They'll finish about 3rd or 4th. That's the kind of team Monaghan are. They give it all for their county. They're absolutely brilliant. And I do think they'll do well in Division 2 next season. As for Mayo, yeah, look, Kevin McStay didn't want to make a league final. And after what happened last year, I couldn't really blame him with the condensedness of the season. We'll probably get into more of that chat in a minute. A lot of talk from Conor O'Rourke, the Meath manager, particularly about this kind of topic. But for Mayo, look, I think they'll be happy not to get to a league final next week. They're in a decent enough situation at the moment. Matthew Rand's on form, Aidan O'Shea played around the middle of Syrian today. Ryan O'Donoghue got a few minutes under his beds. Like, there was a few changes there, here and there. Killian O'Connor came onto the pitch as well. And there is some good performers in Mayo over the last few weeks, but they'll head to the Bronx now in 2 weeks to face New York. Long journey, yes, but you'd imagine Mayo should get over the line eventually in that. So, and then potentially face a Roscommon team that are really down in the dumps in the Connacht semi-final. So I do think there's still positives for Mayo and positives for Monaghan too, despite going down. Like Monaghan have a crucial game in 2 weeks' time against Cavan in the Ulster Championship. Let's see what they're made of then.
Yeah, that's it. And like, look, again, I agree with you. I think that they will be fine in Division Two. I think it will be a good nursing ground for some of their future stars like Sean Jones and everything like that. It will be something where they can build again and they will return. Like the waters run deep in Monaghan and they always pull out new players and they'll be back. Make no mistake about it. As for Mayo, yeah, they're one of the teams, like along with Tyrone and Galway, I'd put them all together. It's like they've had a weird owl league. They've had a very strange league. For Tyrone, like it's one of those things that they beat the teams that, as you said, they beat the teams that got relegated, and then they put up a great performance against Mayo to get that win. But the reality is, when they played the top three, i.e., Derry, Kerry, and Dublin, they were way off them, all three of them. So that's something that you need to look at and go, if you're going to win the All Ireland, those are the three that you're going to have to get through, most likely. And they were way off them. But yeah, so it's wrapped up now. And just to remind you, that is how the Division 1 table finishes for 2024. Derry on top with 12 points, Dublin second on 10, Kerry joined with them on 10 points, but the head-to-head has Dublin ahead. Mayo, on fourth with 8 points, Tyrone fifth with 6 points, Galway sixth with 5 points, safe, and Roscommon and Monaghan down to play Division 2 football in 2025. Then, speaking of Division 2, they had their round 7 as well. Their league is finished up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pair up the relegation results and pair up the promotion results. So Louth beat Kildare by 112 to 12 points in Netwatch Cullen Park. That proved to be absolutely crucial. Ryan Burns' goal, the difference, because Fermanagh, as I predicted, I'll take a little bit of credit for this. I said Fermanagh would win, but it would be in vain because Louth would beat Kildare in the other game. And Fermanagh did beat Cavan in that game at Kingspan Breffni Park. A fantastic performance by Kieran Donnelly's men, but because of Louth's victory over Kildare, it is in vain, and Louth stay up and Fermanagh go down.
Yeah, you have to feel sorry for Fermanagh, don't you? And like over the last few weeks, they've been brilliant in Division 2 and unexpectedly as well when you look at their Tailteann Cup performance last season. And they've ordered some brilliant games, like Sean Cassidy scored a goal last night and looked really, really sharp throughout the league campaign. Ulster Kelm looked as good as always as well. And there was always going to be the fire to face against Cavan and Ulster rival there. So it was a brilliant win for Fermanagh, but ultimately, obviously, as you mentioned there, in vain, unfortunately, Ryan Burns scoring that goal. And Kildare, 7 defeats, 7 games. You wouldn't have expected that at the start of the league campaign. But for Louth, they stay up again. What an achievement. And I think they're the only one of 3 teams in Division 2 with a plus scoring difference, other than Armagh, Donegal were the other 2. So it's a brilliant league for Louth, in fairness. I know they finished 6th, but they still have a lot of work to do. Look at the Sam Maguire rankings in many ways, because they're on the same side of the draw as Kildare and Westmeath. And if they lose to one of those sides or even 2 of those sides, then they could easily find themselves in the Tailteann Cup because of their 6th place finish. So there's still a lot to do despite going down. So I know Ger Brennan obviously knows this from Louth point of view, but like they need to perk up and keep going for the Leinster Championship. And even for the Fermanagh kind of angle here, look at that game against Cork in match day 4 for Fermanagh. And Mar Shanley scores that goal, and like, imagine in an alternate universe, Mar Shanley didn't get a face to that effort that dropped into the square. Cork would have been in a relegation dogfight. Fermanagh would have been at 7 points. They would have been safe. Look, it's just unfortunate, it really is, because Fermanagh were a brilliant team in the division. They finished with 5 points, which would be enough in many other seasons to stay up. It was enough for many other teams down through the past. So for them to go down, I honestly feel sorry for them. And hopefully Fermanagh bounce back soon, sooner rather than later, because they look an exciting team. But more than anything, maybe it's an opportunity for Fermanagh to go for the Tailteann Cup, because I think if they go for that competition's throat, they have a real chance of winning it. So I think Kieran Donnelly might be thinking that at the back of his head, that Fermanagh they have the players to do it, they have the temperament to do it when they're on it. So I wouldn't count against Fermanagh winning the Tailteann Cup this season.
Yeah, it just depends on if they take it seriously. I mean, last year it really appeared like they didn't. They were shocking in last year's Tailteann Cup. They got knocked out by Laois, and it was a Laois side that ended up conceding 8 goals to Down in the semi-final. It wasn't a great Laois team. So Fermanagh definitely would have felt like they left last year's Tailteann Cup, whatever potential prospects they had with it, they left it behind them. This year, the Cork game, you read my mind with that. Like, the Cork game that felt huge at the time. Like, the minute that happened, the minute that Cork got that last minute winner, it felt huge in both ways, because all of a sudden you looked through the fixtures and you looked at who Fermanagh had left to play, and you're thinking there's no real easy games here from here to the end. And that's the way it's turned out to be. And for Louth, like, it's a fantastic achievement again to stay up in Division 2. Like, I mean, Ger Brennan would have been keen to make that statement that, look, it wasn't Mickey Hart, especially the Louth players as well. It wasn't Mickey Hart that had them so good. He definitely helped, but the Louth lads were good enough by themselves, and to stay up in Division 2 puts out a statement about that. Yeah, as you said, they still have a lot of work to do, and they will knuckle down and do it. Kildare, on the other hand, man, like, I wonder what the odds you would have got on at the start of the season to predict that Kildare would lose all 7 games and go down to Division 3 with a whimper. And then on top of that, like, one thing I've noticed is, and this is a real difference, is there's a deafening silence around the Kildare team now. There's no outrage. There's no, like, what's going on here? It's just like, yeah, they lost again. This is what they're doing. People are getting used to them losing these games. They have a lot to turn around in Championship. There's no question about it. They have a lot to turn around. They have the footballers to do it. I don't have a doubt in my mind they have the talent to do it. Just whether they can whip it into a team that is the best 15 lads that they have remains to be seen. We'll go up to the other end of the table. I predicted Cork to win this game. It looked like they were on their way to doing it. It was in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Armagh saved themselves right at the death, 2 late points, I think, from Aidan Nugent, and then the other one, I'll just grab it here.
Oisín
I know Aidan Nugent won. Oisín Canati, yeah. So they rescued the draw right at the death for Armagh, and it finished 2-16 apiece at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But as you put up on your Instagram at Gaelic Statsman, give it a follow if you don't already, guys. Cork had a shot right at the end to win it, but it went wide.
Yeah. There was a better angle to the Stephen Sherlock shot from a Southern Star. If you checked out already, that's a sports channel on Twitter, and they took the video there. They were behind the shot from Stephen Sherlock. Even as a Cork fan, even look at that angle, which was a better angle than my own. I think it looked wide, Seamus, honestly. And Sherlock had his head, these hands, and just, yeah, it looked wide. There was no deliberation over that, but. A stat for you as well from a Cork point of view. Chris O'Jones and Luke Fahey scored the goals last night against Armagh. Those were the first 2 goals Armagh conceded in the Division 2 campaign. And who knew will they be against Cork? So brilliant for Chris O'Jones to score that. Was a brilliant finish if you have the pleasure to watch the highlights later on RT, or if it's on TG Card. Knowing RT, they won't put it up, because it was a good game. It really was a good game, but knowing RT, the way they do things, they don't do things simple, do they, James? They won't put it up, simple as. But look, it was a good game, really good game of football between 2 sides that played attacking styles. Both sides, they had nothing to lose, really. Like, both sides were safe. Both sides, like, in Armagh's point of view, they were going to a league final next week and then lost their championship game. Cork had to do a bit of work to stay safe in Sam Maguire. 4 plays should make them safe, let's be honest. Yeah, it was a good game overall, and Cork nearly won it. And I wouldn't say it was the Sherlock shot at the end, more so I think it was the Rory Grugan goal. I think Conor Turbo took a shot, dropped short, Micheál Martin patted it out. Rory Grugan, brilliant finish by him, but Cork should have done a lot better in that kind of situation. And even for the Oisín Conti point towards the end, Micheál Martin kicks out the ball. Brilliant catch by Oisín O'Neill to get Armagh on their way, and then Oisín Conti gets the ball and puts it over the bar for the equalising score. So I think it's what was the deserved outcome. I think the draw was a fair result, but it's a case of what might have been from a Cork point of view. Like, if they got results against Cavan and Louth, like, we could have been in the situation to be in a promotion challenge with Armagh and Donegal, because we have proved it. We beat Kildare, we beat Meath, we beat Fermanagh, and we should have beat Armagh on any other day as well. So, like, it's just frustrating, man, isn't it? Because, like, you feel like any bigger side, like a Dublin, a Derry, a Kerry, or Galway, or Mayo, would actually fear Cork, because they don't know what Cork team actually comes out. But then when Cork comes up against a smaller team, and you mentioned it in previous weeks, it's almost like a smaller team push back and says, come on to us. And Cork don't do it. That's something that Cork needs to improve on in years to come. But I think when we go up against a team where we're underdogs, we show what a good team we are, and we should be a decent team come championship time as well. It was a good into the league, but it's just so frustrating because it's a matter of what might have been.
Yeah, no, I do get you. And look, Cork have definitely reminded us how good they are from the Fermanagh victory on. They were showing fight from the start, but they weren't quite getting the results. Then the Fermanagh result was where they got that little bit of luck that they needed, and they haven't really looked back since then. They've picked up some really, really good results along the road. And promotion next season definitely could be on the cards. I mean, you got Meath there making great strides. You've got Monaghan and Roscommon are down, and they won't have the same presence, I wouldn't think, that Armagh and Donegal do. So it will be difficult to predict with pure confidence who will go up next season from Division 2. Donegal, where everybody's picked to go up top of the table, and they have gone up top of the table. They beat Meath 118-110 at Port Talton on the final round of action in Division 2. Jim McGuinness has just smashed it. He's returned to Donegal, and just like that, Donegal have stuck their chests out. They're swaggering now. Like, they really, really back themselves. And who can blame them? Unbeaten, right back up to Division 1.
Yeah, it was a really dominating performance from Donegal, and two sides that went into the game. It was not like a Cork situation that they needed to finish higher up to avoid Sam Maguire. Like, Meath were already in the Sam Maguire Cup, no matter what the result was. So I think both sides were almost like, get this game over with. I think it was on Ballygo today as well last night, so it was a trip for me as well. So like, it was just, it was just about just getting over the line. Now, I think the main probably headline to come out of it, so I think Aisling O'Reilly was from off the ball, was at the game, and Colin O'Rourke and Jim McGuinness were both angry with how early the championship season starts. Maybe that's for another video now, maybe that's for another time, but they were complaining that players were playing too much within a certain amount of time. I think Colin O'Rourke said that one of his players played 13 games in 40 days or some stat like that, which was absolutely crazy. I do get the split season though with the clubs and everything like that. Again, it's a discussion for another day, so I won't dwell on it too much. But look, that was probably the main talking point to come out of the game last night. Just other than that, good win for Donegal. Meath, they'll be positive enough going to the Leinster Championship game against Longford, and potentially a bout with the Dubs.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, definitely something to keep an eye on as well, how much they can close the gap on the Dubs, because the Dubs look damn good. It looked like we were sliding backwards in 2021, 2022, even 2023, up until we turned it around to go and win the All-Ireland. But now, I mean, I'm as confident in Dublin as I've been in a long, long time. So yeah, that's Division 2 wrapped up. This is how the table finishes for Division 2. Obviously, Donegal and Armagh top the table and go up to Division 1. Cavan and Cork finished level on points. Meath and Louth also finished level on points in 5th and 6th. Fermanagh on 5 points. Still not enough. They go down. Kildare, as I said, rooted to the bottom. 7 defeats out of 7 games. Absolutely shocking stuff. It's just a bad situation for Kildare, and hopefully they can turn around. They certainly have the players to do so. So hopefully they can. Division 3's round 7 as well. Go through the 4 results here. Now, obviously, the main one was keeping an eye on whether Clare could pull off the incredible. They couldn't, unfortunately. Just a bit too far for them. Down 3-15, Clare 1-10 at Port Esler. Sligo 1-14, Westmeath 11 points in Markovich Park. So Westmeath were beaten there. And we'll put them two together. We were talking earlier on, if Westmeath were to lose, how much would we be talking about the square ball from round 2? How much are we going to talk about it?
We're going to talk about it for weeks on end, I'd say, because a lot of Clare fans would have been unhappy with that, because if Clare won that game, they would have leapfrogged Westmeath, and if all other results stayed the same as well. So, yeah, it was a crucial incident. It really was. And it's amazing. There was an incident as well we'll get on to later in Division 4. I don't want to spoil this too much for people here. But yeah, it was a big incident. At the time, I said it wasn't a square ball. I don't know how the goal didn't stand. Tommy Rooney recorded it, I think, on a camera, I think, or was it Clare Journalist, I think it was. And even looking at that clip, I thought, how is this a square ball? It really was baffling in many ways. But it was a surprise that Sligo actually beat Westmeath, and it probably just shows that Sligo are better than people made them out to be. They look a really, really good team. Again, they didn't necessarily need to win today. They got the win out of the way there. They play Leitrim in 2 weeks in the Connacht Championship, and bear in mind, Leitrim have a Division 4 final next weekend. So they'll have a lot on their plate. So I'd imagine Sligo will get over the line in that particular game. And then it's Galway in the Connacht semi-finals. So I do think Galway are much better than Sligo, but I think Sligo have the capabilities to put it up to Galway for maybe the first half and maybe even tail off in the second half. But there's a lot of good things coming out of Sligo, and that couldn't be unmasked whatsoever. As for Down, they just showed what a good team they are today, didn't they? There was a lot of fear around them. There was a lot of pressure. Could they do it when it matters most? Look at the scoreline today. They absolutely blitzed there, and they were full value for their win as well. And what I will say, I'll be excited to see them in Croke Park next week. Like in one of their last few appearances in Croke Park, they scored 8 goals against Laois. Let's see what they do next week.
Yeah, certainly. It was definitely entertaining last time that they made it to Croke Park. Look, for Clare as well, massive shout. Like, they really, really, coped well with as hard as they could possibly have been hit in the off-season. They lost everyone, like literally all of their key players, their manager, and Mark Fitzgerald still turns around and nearly gets them promoted. 2 teams that have gone down were confirmed as Wicklow, who lost to Antrim 114 to 14 points at Corrigan Park, and Limerick, who go down on bottom of the table with 7 defeats from 7. Offaly won 10, Limerick 12 points in O'Connor Park. So Limerick and Wicklow down to Division 4.
Yeah, and in fairness, Limerick showed a lot of fight. They were ahead for long periods of the game against Offaly, and it's a difficult one for Limerick because their next game is against Cork in the Munster Championship, and even if they do pull off the miracle against Cork, the next game is Kerry. So it's almost like a situation they know they're in the Tailteann Cup already. It's kind of a hard one to comprehend for the players. So, but they put in a massive shift today. They put in a really, really good performance against a decent enough Offaly side. And they could go down with their heads held high in many ways, because it's just a shame what has happened in Limerick over the last year or so. Like, out of 14 league games, they've got 1 draw, and that's it against Meath. So it isn't really a good record, but the players are going to keep fighting. There's no doubt about that in Limerick. And as for Antrim and Wicklow, Rory McCann's goal made the difference for Antrim today. And yeah, they stayed up, but geez, they were very, very close to going down. Remember at the start of the league, we were talking about Antrim being promotion challengers. But if they lost today, they could have gone down. So it was crucial that they got the results. And Andy McEntee's team did, in fairness. And Wicklow, another team like Limerick, maybe not up to Division 2 or Division 3 standard, but they gave it their all, and unfortunately just wasn't enough for them, and they have to go down to Division 4 once again next year.
Yeah, and I think those situations are difficult, because you're looking at it thinking, like, that's a lot of hard work that had been done over the last 2 years, 3 years, and then you flash forward 5 years and you're right back in the same place that you were, and it's like nothing has changed from beforehand. It must be very, very demoralising, and hopefully that they can bounce back, because I did like seeing Limerick on the rise. I did like seeing Wicklow on the rise, stay up in Division 3, obviously, by relegating Cavan. That was an unbelievable achievement. That was when they had Davy Burke in charge. Like, it is nice to see these teams rising through the ranks. So we've seen Louth do it. We've seen Derry do it to an extraordinary level. Hopefully another team can make that jump. Now, so to remind you how Division 3 looks wrapped up, we obviously have Down and Westmeath. Down top of the table there with 13 points out of a possible 14. Westmeath with 11 points, they go up. Clare in third on 10. Obviously, if they had been given that win against Westmeath, or if they had got that win against Westmeath, which they should have, they would be getting promoted. Sligo in fourth on 9 points. Antrim in fifth on 6 points. Offaly in sixth on 5 points. Wicklow and Limerick relegated, Limerick with 7 defeats out of their 7 games. So moving on then to the basement division, Division 4, and they're round 7. Leitrim are promoted. They beat Tipperary by 15 points to 9 in Park. Sean McDermott, and this was made possible by the fact that Wexford beat Longford by 2-18 to 2-9 in Wexford Park. Laois also did their bit, beating Waterford 5-19 to Waterford's 9 points in the Set2 Arena, so they go up top of the table. And Carlow also beat London by 117 to 110 in Dr. Cullen Park, which ends their campaign on a high note.
Yeah, Carlow London probably not worth talking about. Neither is Laois and Waterford. Like, Laois scored 4 goals in the first 20 minutes of that game, and it's just upsetting really for Waterford. Well done to Laois, obviously going up, and they've been absolutely brilliant in Division 4, but for Waterford it's just soul draining, isn't it? Getting defeat after defeat like this. And honestly, it's one of those counties that I just wish they'd get a win, and just to gain a bit of confidence somewhat, because it's just demoralising really for the players playing, the management as well. They don't know when the next win is going to come, and it's just unfortunate for them. As for the promotion dogfight, I talked about controversial incidents like the Clare incident in match day 2. There was an incident a few weeks ago as well between Leitrim and Wexford themselves. And the reason that Wexford actually missed out on promotion was because of the head-to-head. And Wexford were 2 points up going to the last minute of that particular game. I think it was match day 3 or match day 4 or something like that. And Leitrim got a last-minute penalty, which Ryan O'Rourke stuck the ball away from. But Adrian Flynn put up a tweet on Twitter, obviously, with the video of the penalty incident, and it looked incredibly harsh. And a lot of Wexford fans have come out now and are complaining about this incident and it's unfortunate for Wexford because they've got 10 points on the board and they still don't go up. It's kind of, and I said this to Aaron earlier, and Aaron said this to you during the week preview, very good preview, by the way, I think as well. That Wexford, the 1 year where they gained a bit of momentum, the 1 year where they actually performed well and realised their potential, they don't go up. And it's just unfortunate because you love Wexford football to be back up in the pedestal again. Again, fair play to Leitrim. They got the results what they needed today against Tipperary, even though I looked at the Tipperary team and Sean O'Connor wasn't playing today, so that was a huge loss for them. But very good result for Leitrim. Good result for Wexford. Ultimately, not good enough. But Leitrim Laois final should be interesting next week.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And look, for Leitrim, it's an incredible achievement. Up to Division 3, and I mean, I remember the scenes a few years ago when they played Derry in that league final, and Emma Mulligan got his first game in Croke Park and everything like that. But absolutely, yeah. So I'm buzzing for them that they went up. We're going to stick with the football team as well. We had the LGFA Leagues Division 1, their round 7. And it was a pretty bleak weekend for the Rebels. I mean, going down for the first time since 2003, down to Division 2. Losing out to Meath in Port Talton by 2-14 to a goal and 7. I mean, this one's got to be a tough one to take, man. I mean, you look at the Meath performance there. Marion Farrelly, very, very impressive. She stuck away the second goal for Meath in the 57th minute. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin. Cork also missed a penalty. So Sive O'Leary had the Rebels ahead 1-4 to 6 points at halftime with her goal. Derek Kiley missed the penalty saved by Robin Murray in the early stages of the second half. That would have been crucial if she had stuck that away. Meath come back and get the win.
Yeah, it's just a never-ending cycle really for Cork, unfortunately. I think a lot of players have left over the last few years, the likes of Darren O'Sullivan and Ciara O'Sullivan over the last few weeks, Roisin Phelan, Orla Farmer, Orla Finn, even going back to Breed Stockbridge, Cork, Rena Buckley, and unfortunately, Cork just haven't replaced them, and it's just unfortunate. There are some good young players in the team, but they're very young. It's a very young panel. A lot of them are in their first season playing for the Rebels, so it's just unfortunate. Shane Renane, it's a hard job for them. They're going down to Division 2 now, as you mentioned, for the first time since 2003, and that's 6 defeats on the bounce, and it isn't good for confidence whatsoever from a Cork point of view. It really is poor. There seemed to be a bit of optimism looking on Jerome Quinn's Twitter when Sive O'Leary got that goal, but they just couldn't sustain it after that. And unfortunately, it is Cork going down to Division 2. As for Meath, when we talked about Cork losing a lot of players over the last few seasons, like the Dirrans, like the Ciaras, like the Orlas, all them. But Meath have lost Vicky Wall to rugby. They've also lost Niamh O'Sullivan to retirement. They've lost Orla Duff to retirement. They've lost a lot of players, and they've rebranded a few new players into the team. Like Marion Farrelly's a revelation, 1-3 today. So Meath seem to be on the right road to recovery, in fairness to them. And Shane McCormick seems like a good coach there. So yeah, Meath look like an absolutely brilliant team on the rise once again. But for Cork, it's not a good time to be a Cork fan at the moment in ladies football. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Yeah, and look, Meath as well. Orla Lally's another one that went to the AFLW. She's a big loss. Meath have done pretty well. I mean, this league has been definitely an interesting one. They've had some bad results, but they've had some very, very impressive results, like the victory over Mayo in Dublin to kick off the league campaign. There were 2 very impressive wins. This next result is crazy. Armagh 1-4, Dublin 7 goals and 10 points at the Athletic Grounds. Now, I do want to stress, Armagh in last week's result guaranteed their spot in the league final. So the manager, Gregory McGonigal, who, by the way, also used to manage the Dubs, he made 10 changes to the starting team. But it ends up in this situation where Dublin scores 7 goals against you. Now, I don't care if you're already in the league final. that has to absolutely batter your confidence. It's probably the worst preparation Armagh could possibly have for an upcoming league final.
Yeah, you could argue it that way. But at the same time, like I looked at the teams on Scorpio yesterday, and the likes of Amy Mackin wasn't playing. The likes of Aoife McCoy, who was a goal-getting machine, wasn't playing. Like the majority of the Armagh team wasn't playing. So would that affect their confidence in many ways when they weren't on the pitch? I'm not entirely sure. I get your point, definitely. Like it would affect the confidence of the players that were on the pitch and had to experience that. Like Carla Rowe was outstanding yesterday. Hannah Tyrrell, Annabelle Timothy is a very good player coming through the ranks in Dublin. Orla Nolan got the player of the match and well deserved as well. But for Armagh, it's quite a bit. It's a hard situation to comprehend because a lot of them players are missing. There was new players coming into the team. You could understand why Gregory McGonigal was resting these players going to a league final. I'm not sure it's next week or a few weeks' time, but like they didn't need to win this game, so they just played the second team. It backfired to an extent, maybe for confidence and all that, but for table ranking and things like that, it didn't whatsoever. And as results transpired, I know we'll get onto the Kerry results in a bit, but they will play Kerry in the league final and not Dublin. So maybe that's a positive for Armagh that they don't have to face Dublin again in Croke Park more than anything in a wide open space. So I don't know, is this degrading confidence because the players missing and the fact that Dublin didn't actually make the league final? But yeah, I see your point on that. But a damaging enough defeat for Armagh, not as damaging as many other 7-goal routes or whatsoever. But a good win for Dublin going to the championship.
Well, that's it. Yeah, no defeat that you concede 7 goals in is a good day at the office. And like the fact that Armagh didn't have those players on the pitch, maybe, but for the 5 players who are starters or who are regular contributors to the team, that's not good for their confidence going in. And a defeat like that is never good for the morale. It's never good for training and everything like that. And it gives Dublin a bit of a mental advantage that last time Dublin played you, they battered you. I just personally thought maybe put out a little bit of a stronger team. You don't have to go all guns blazing to try and win the game, but by God, make it competitive, and they just didn't. And maybe Dublin were just too strong in the day. Like you look at some of the performances, as you said, Carla Rowe with 1-4, Hannah Tyrrell with 2-1. Like very, very impressive individual performances by Dublin, and they were ruthless. As I said, you can only beat what's put in front of you, and Dublin very much did that. I'm going to pair these 2 games together because Galway and Waterford's game last week was postponed due to bad weather. Galway and Waterford will play each other again, and they both were on the wrong side of the results today. Kerry beat them 2-11 to 12 points at the Fitzgerald Stadium, and Mayo beat Waterford 2-9 to 2-6 in Ballina Stephenites. Waterford pushed back late, but Mayo held them off and got the victory. Waterford and Galway face each other next week, and whoever loses that game is down with Cork. What are you expecting from that?
It's going to be a tight game, no doubt about it, because Galway they have the players, no doubt about it, but at the same time, they have been missing a lot of players. Like we talked about, Meath and Cork losing a lot of players. Like this year alone, they've lost the likes of Tracy Leonards, Marie Shoiga, who would have been absolute stalwarts for any team, but they do have the likes of Alva Davern and Aoife O'Rourke, who are doing well for Galway, so they still have good players in the team. But Waterford have a capability in their team that they never give up. No matter what situation they go into Division 1 under, they always find a way to stay up. And with players like Laura McGregor there, Kellyanne Hogan, they always have a chance. So like it's a tight one to call. It really is in this essential relegation playoff, if you like. I go for Waterford. I know Galway probably have better players on their panel, but I think Waterford have a lot of fight in them. So I'm going to go for Waterford winning that game. And another main probably headline in these 2 games as well. Kerry got to the league final. They'll face Armagh and that in Croke Park. And only a few years ago, we talked about Derry and Dublin being in the men's Division 1 final after being in Division 2 last season. The Division 2 final in LGFA 2 seasons ago was Armagh versus Kerry. It's amazing how time does things, Seamus.
That's it. No, and the 2 of them have just gone absolutely fantastic. And Armagh look better this year than I've seen them probably since 2020, 2021, when everybody was tipping them to be what Meath inevitably went on to become. Not inevitably, but when Meath did go on to become that team, a lot of people would have expected Armagh to do it. I'll remind you of the table. So if that is not the table, that is the Division 4 table. That is the division. Give me one more try. Armagh up there at the top. 18 points out of a possible 21. As you said, Kerry will be joining them in the league final. Dublin in third place on 15 points, Meath in fourth on 12, Mayo in fifth on 10, and a massive drop off then to Galway, Waterford, and Cork, albeit Galway and Waterford will jump up onto 6 points. Cork already down and out. Waterford or Galway will join them. I probably would go with you. I think Galway probably have the better players, but Waterford have the more fight, and I think that will have the final say. So we'll move. I'll run through the results as well from Division 2 and 3. So the Division 2 round 7 results, I have them here. It was Cavan 1-5, Tyrone 1-6 at McGrath Memorial Park. Kildare beat Westmeath 2-9 to 1-7 in Mangard Park. Monaghan beat Laois 3-18 to 6 points in Smithborough. Tipperary and Donegal played in Fethard. Donegal won 2-8 to 3-4. And then in the Division 3 round 7, Down beat Clare by 11 points to a goal and 5. Surprising result there. That was in Teconnach to GAC. Sligo and Louth, it finished Louth 2-12, Sligo 2-7. That was in Clunicool. Antrim beat Roscommon. Oh, no, they didn't. Sorry. Roscommon 4-6. Antrim 1-14. And then Offaly 3-7. Wexford 1-10 in Eden Derry. So Offaly getting the victory there. So those are those results. I'm going to show you the tables now. So, of course, we have Division 2's table. Kildare going up along with Tyrone. Donegal missing out on promotion. Bit of a surprise there. Tipperary drawing with Westmeath on 9 points. Monaghan on 7. Cavan and Laois at the bottom of the table. And then Division 3, Roscommon going up along with Clare. Down just about missing out. Offaly and Wexford in 4th and 5th on 10 points each. Louth on 7. And then a massive drop off to Antrim and Sligo at the bottom of the table. So then moving on to the Division 4 semi-finals, I'm going to highlight these because both of the sides that we would have anticipated to make the league final, well, both of them were beaten. Fermanagh were beaten by Carlow 2-8 to 110 in Dowdall's Hill. And Limerick beat Leitrim 2-10 to 111 in Pádraig Pearse's.
I thought Fermanagh beat Carlow, but I could be wrong now, but Carlow definitely won, did they?
This is as of RTE latest results.
Well, I know that Leitrim lost anyway, and that was a huge surprise. And I was actually delighted for the Limerick ladies footballers there. And like Limerick have had a few hard results in Division 4, but for them to beat a Leitrim team that were scoring goals for fun is absolutely outstanding. I know that result for sure. I was very sure Fermanagh beat Carlow. I think I was seeing on Brenda Bannon's story earlier that they were promotion bound and final bound.
Well, let me put it this way, Matthew. If that is the case, I'm literally reading it here on the computer. You go into LGFA latest results, Division 4 semi-finals today. Dowdall's Hill, Fermanagh 110, Carlow 2-8. That's what it says.
110-2. That means Carlow won, so.
So yeah, this is what I'm saying.
That's
taking on that. I couldn't find a match report for it yet, but I was shocked. I thought Fermanagh were a shoe-in.
Yeah, I thought they were as well. That's it. I was so like I was seeing on one of the Fermanagh player stories that they were semi-final or final and promotion bound. I just automatically zoned over Fermanagh won again, and then no, they didn't.
It is mental.
Like that's some result for Carlow. Like Cleone, she would imagine was a main player now and wrote Rachel Sawyer up in the forward line. They definitely produced brilliant performances to go on and win this game. So Carlow and Limerick at the final, that's quite a shock.
Now I'm going on to the ladies Gaelic football website now, the LGFA official website, and just because I do not want to get this wrong. So going in here, results. Oh, and the website doesn't even have it up. Wait, hang on, results. Let's have it up. Division 4 semi-final. Yeah, Fermanagh 110, Carlow 2-8.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's confirmed.
That's quite a shock. That is literally got me gobsmacked hearing that result. Fermanagh were shooing with the likes of Emer Smith, Blahin, Bogan, that team. Honestly, I don't know how that happened. I know Carlow has good players like Cleone, Sheen, Rachel Sawyer, but my God, what a result for Carlow. To beat
Yeah,
a side like Fermanagh like that, brilliant result. And for
unbelievable.
Limerick,
And
I heard
then, like,
from
who
reports
would you be
there that
backing?
Limerick
Would you be
actually
backing
got
Limerick?
a last minute goal.
Would you be backing Limerick or Carlow in the final then?
I'll go for Limerick. Slightly.
Yeah, I probably would agree with you, but it's a hell of a result for Carlow. I mean, you cannot take that away from them in any way, shape, or form. You got Fermanagh there with, I know Blaaheen Bogue has obviously recently gone to the AFL, but they still have the likes of Emer Smith and Brenda Bannon, and it's just like it's an incredible result for Carlow to be able to get that. We'll move on then to the hurling. We'll move to the small ball. The Division 1 had their hurling semi-finals, and obviously everybody knows the main result that we're going to talk about here. Kilkenny beating Limerick 3-17 to 1-15 at Porky Queeve. We have seen the Invincibles look vulnerable. What did you make of this?
We certainly did. It was kind of a surprise. I was at the game and I just seen in the first 5 minutes when Aaron Gallants made it 1-2 to a point, I think it was. I thought, yeah, Limerick are on a road here to go on and win the game. But Kilkenny kind of found a tactic during the game that troubled Limerick. Just play the sliotar into the square. And it would cause a lot of damage in there for Limerick. Like Sean Finn at full back, it was a bit of an experiment, especially number one, he was coming back into the team, and number two, he doesn't usually play at full back. And to put him on TJ Reid was a bit of a risk from John Kiley, I will not lie. But it was well worked from Kilkenny, in fairness, especially for the Owen Cody goal and the Luke Hogan goal, which Luke got from a rebound of Owen Cody. So brilliant result for Kilkenny, and it definitely showed some frailties in the Limerick team, let's just say. And even when Owen Cody got sent off earlier in the second half, there seemed to be a bit of a buzz around Limerick to go on and get back into the game, but then it kind of died down a bit, even when it got to that. And when Peter Casey got a red card, I have to look at Lee Sunday now tonight. I was at the game. I actually don't know what he got sent off for, but I'll have to see it tonight. But once that happens, it was almost like the game was over after that. And Limerick looked out of ideas. They looked probably shell-shocked. And John Kiley was saying that the most disappointing thing was Limerick didn't go out on their terms. They went out on Kilkenny's terms, which was the most disappointing aspect of it. And is there kind of signs of creaking in this Limerick team? I still believe that Limerick will win the All-Irelands. I've said this from the start. They're a generational team, and I think they'll achieve the 5 in a row, which they had never been done by a hurling team. But that result yesterday maybe question it a small, teensy little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just like there's the wobble. Do you hear what I mean? That's a wobble. That's it's like watching a boxing champion that has never had a glove laid on him, and someone lands an uppercut on him or someone rocks him. Kilkenny landed a good shot there in terms of the psychological warfare going forward now in the championship. The Kilkenny know that they can beat them. Because this is what I was saying to Aaron, as I was saying, this game means way more to Kilkenny than it means to Limerick, because if you have it in your head, we know we can beat you. If you've never beaten them, how are you going to beat them in the game where it matters the most? So for Kilkenny to have bet them before they might meet in an All-Ireland semi-final or an All-Ireland final, it's massively important to the psyche of the Kilkenny lads that they can beat them when it matters in Croke Park, because I know for a fact Limerick will be there, and I'd be fairly confident Kilkenny will be there too. One team that is going to join Kilkenny then in that league final is Clare. Clare beat Tipperary 124 to 213 in O'Moore Park, Portlaoise. Impressive performance by Clare. And we were talking about how Clare really want to cash in on this generation, win a national trophy. They're in a league final, and they did it in impressive fashion.
They did, and their shooting today was absolutely immaculate. I think it was over 70% going into the last few minutes of the game, and they looked really, really good, even without Shane O'Donnell and Tony Kelly in the team. Like Ian McCarthy and Mark Rogers, whoever was on the freeze, were sailing them over with ease. Like Keith Smith looked good, really buzzing around the corner forward position. Dave Fitzgerald looked really good in midfield, bombing up and down the field like Darrell Lohan. There was a lot of fight in him. So Clare look at a good place at the moment. Tipperary, on the other hand, the Whites, like they had 19 overall today. That is just not good enough to win any game. And even when you look at their free count, like a lot of frees were missed. Like Garrod O'Connor didn't actually score today. Jason Ford missed a lot of frees. Even Sean Ryan comes on and misses a good few as well. Like they just weren't honest. And even the easy frees, like even between the 45 and the 65, they were even struggling to get them over. So it was just a bad day at the office for Tipperary in many ways. And for Clare, they march on. And this is a perfect opportunity for number one to prove that they can beat Kilkenny for a second time in a year. And number two, to win a national trophy. A lot of things need to be put to bed for Clare, and they'll be hungry to do it.
Certainly, and like that's one of the things. It's been a long time since Clare have actually won a national trophy, and this is a very, very good opportunity for them to do it. It's also a very good opportunity to finally beat Kilkenny in a game that you could say really, really matters. Then the other hurling game is going to run through the results. The Division 2A semi-final, Laois beat down 124 to 13 points. That was in 2A. In 2B, Donegal and Tyrone finished Donegal 3-14. Tyrone 5 goals and 9 points. So a dramatic 1-point victory there for Tyrone. Then moving on to the 3A semi-final, Sligo beat Cavan 22 points to 114. And then 3B, Warwickshire beat Longford 116 to a goal and 12. So finally, we're going to move then into Camogie Leagues Division 1A, round 4, and 1B is round 4. In 1A, we had Cork beating Clare 115 to 16 in Porty-Rin. Galway beat Waterford 13 points to 12 in Loughrea. And Tipperary with an eye-catching win against Kilkenny 212 to 16 in Nolan Park. Very impressive from Tip.
Yeah, really, really good. And Emer McGrath with another 7 points to add to her tally. Like, she's probably having one of the best seasons out of any Camogie player. Let's be honest about it. Like, Casey Hennessy got a goal in this game as well. And Tip looked really, really good against a decent Kilkenny team. And Kilkenny, one win on the board against Clare. That's kind of worrying from their point of view. For Cork, good result for them. Saoirse McCarthy getting 5 points, Amy O'Connor getting 4, Hannah Looney getting the goal to decide this game as well. And it was comfortable from Cork and Clare. Look, probably doomed to go down to Division 1A or Division 1B, should I say. And Waterford against Galway. Carrie Dolan was brilliant for Galway in this game. So was Niamh Nyland. So brilliant result for Galway. Beck Carton scored 8 points for Waterford as well. So like, it looks like it's going to be a 3-way fight for 2 spots in the final. It looks like it's going to be between Tipperary, Galway and Cork. Don't ask me who to choose, because it's going to be a difficult one to call.
It certainly will be. And I mean, the Kilkenny will be looking a little bit like Chapclare, new man in the job. There's been some ropey results, and I know it's only the league, but we need to see some turns around in those results very, very quickly from the Cats. Moving on to 1B's round 4, then Wexford with another eye-catching win. They beat Kerry 4-15 to 3 points, and then Enniscorthy, the model county, continue to tear it up in 1B. Dublin with a very good win over Down 3-16 to 1-1 in Leitrim Fontenoys. And Antrim beat Limerick 2-10 to 2-5 in Ballycastle. So Antrim recovering well from their absolutely horrific defeat against Wexford a couple of rounds before this. So those are the results from round 4 in Division 1B.
Yeah, really good result for Antrim in particular. Like, we talked about them a few weeks ago, losing by, I think it was a cricket score against Wexford, and we questioned where Antrim Camogie was going. But ultimately, if you look at the league results, they've won every other game other than that game. So I don't know what actually happened that day, to be honest with you, but very good results against a decent Limerick side. So good result for Antrim there. Good result for Dublin hammering down, and like, I don't know, are they going to go for promotion or what's the story there? Like, it's hard to know. And Wexford, they look really, really good at the moment. And even last season, pushing Kilkenny all the way, pushing a lot of teams all the way, and they trashed Kerry in this game. That wasn't even a contest in the end. So good result for all 3 teams there, but Wexford looked like the cream of the crop there.
Yeah, Wexford looked the business. Like, they're definitely on a one-way ticket up into Division 1A, no question about it. So that is an hour and 10 minutes in the books. We have covered all 4 codes: men's Gaelic football, ladies Gaelic football, hurling and camogie. Please do give it a like, give it a follow, everything like that. We put the work in. Go give Matthew's page a follow as well across Instagram, TikTok, all the social medias, on his YouTube channel as well. Guys, that's another episode in the books. Sinead McCarthy, Gormila Mahagwiv. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Until the next one here on Cluiche, Torara.